And opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
It's just after 4 o'clock in the big city. It's time for America's favorite Las Vegas sports show, Sports X Radio with Ken Thompson.
Yeah, what up? Party's going on.
Duh.
Going to a party.
Sports X Radio with Ken Thompson is brought to you by Hannah Shea and Ravapudi, trial lawyers that get results. The Westgate Superbook. It's the largest in the world. Crescent School of Gaming and Bartending, the only school of its kind in the U.S. Finley Toyota. John Barr will do anything to sell you a car. Steiner's Pub, a true Nevada-style pub. And Forklift University, the best forklift training in the Valley. So get ready, because Sports X Radio with Ken Thompson starts now.
Coming at you on a Fat Tuesday here, Taco Tuesday. Sports X Radio, Jose V, filling in today for KT. We are coming to you live from PSR Law Studios, Panache and Ravapudi, the best in personal injury, over $5 billion in verdicts and settlements for their clients the last 5 years. And of course, the strength by your side, the relentless pursuit of justice. You may not need them now, but trust me, you may need them in the future. Make sure you give them a call, 702-560-5520. We are streaming live on 107.1 on your FM dial, 1400 on the AM dial. And we decided to switch it up a little bit today, as we always do whenever I fill in. You guys know I love the social media aspect of it. So I like to go live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Check out Straight Bet Sports and Jose Volonte. You can find us live there. We have a great show for you guys today. First hour, I got my guy, Chris Winn, filling in as always, or as KT likes to call us, the dynamic duo of sports radio in Las Vegas. Every time we hop on here, I love chopping it up with Chris because I know I can go back and forth with him, not have the same takes, but still agree to disagree and have a good time and respect each other. But we also have some guests coming in on the second hour. At the top of the hour, 5 o'clock, we'll have our guy Nick Hamilton joining us live to talk all things WNBA. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, of course, a lot of drama going on there. He is coming to us from Nitecast Media. He's also a host on SiriusXM Radio and a BBC News Correspondent. He is all over the place. We've had him on the show before. Great guest there. But without further ado, let me bring in my co-host for the evening today, my guy, Chris Winn. Chris, you had me a little bit worried there today, my guy. I don't know if you were sleeping in or what was going on there, but you finally got back to me. Greatly appreciate you. What's going on, my guy?
I'm doing good, Jose. Always good to join you. Yeah. You know, my schedule a little bit different with my other gig.
Yeah.
So it's late night sometimes over there, but never worry, my friend, because we are here on a Taco Tuesday. What's that mean, Jose? It means we got a little WNBA action. Aces. T.C. Martin on the call, taking on the Connecticut Sun, formerly the Orlando Miracle. Mr. Jose Volonte, a team I covered back in the early 2000s when Becky Hammon was playing for the New York Liberty, my friend. Yeah. That's how far back they go. So, and of course, you got the Final Four set, baby, don't we? Stanley Cup playoffs and NBA playoffs, including a epic rivalry, maybe renewed, when it comes to the Knicks and the Indiana Pacers, Mr. Jose Volonte in the Eastern Conference, and also kind of a new, on the horizon maybe rivalry with Minnesota and OKC. So a lot of stuff going on in the world of sports, no question.
So I'm glad you brought that up. Let's just jump right into the NBA while we're at it, because it's crazy if you think about it. This year we have 4 teams, 3 of them which have never won a championship. I mean, technically, if we're talking about OKC, they won one back in the Seattle days, right?
Yeah.
But technically, they're no longer part of the
because
Supersonics.
the records are actually in
Seattle
right?
owns the rights to everything Supersonics, definitely. But I think it's exciting, like TC was talking about in the last show, that we've had so many new champions in these last couple years, right? Because if you look at the 80s, 90s, Celtics, Lakers, all the teams that were the powerhouses that were basically taking all this. In the late 80s, you had freaking Lakers, Celtics basically winning 8 out of the 10 championships here. But the one that I'm really looking forward to more than anything is New York, Indiana, Chris, because of that rivalry renewed, right? Yeah. We think about the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers. We think Patrick Ewing. We think Reggie Miller, right? The choke, you know what I mean? Going at it with him and Spike Lee on the sidelines. I think that's going to be probably the best series out of these two. No disrespect to OKC. What Shea is doing is amazing. Probably the front runner, probably going to win the MVP. And then we have Anthony Edwards, right? What he has done, how he said that he was going to come back this year and be a lot more stronger. They were going to get a lot farther, and look what they have. And some people say they've taken out some teams that really were a lot easier, right? You take out the Lakers. Some people say, hey, the Lakers weren't really that good going into the playoffs. They were all smoke and mirrors. They got out-coached. They got outplayed. And then you beat a Golden State team that some people say were just hanging on by a thread, right? Yeah. They were hoping after they won that game that they actually had some chance of winning this, but they got taken out by Minnesota. I think that'll be a great series as well, but I think, again, New York, Indiana is the one that I really want to see overall. I'll have a lot of betting interest in this game. What are your thoughts on the both conference finals?
Well, so talk to your point quickly. This is a quick fact about how there's been new team. There's fresh blood every single year, right, Jose? The last 7 seasons in the NBA, brand new NBA champion. Yeah. So that's the first time ever in NBA history, by the way, and it's going to be the case. I believe it's going to be the 7th this year, whoever wins the championship. So that's kind of cool as well, too, from the NBA. Going back to that Knicks Pacers series, I think what's intriguing to a lot of us and a lot of the fans now, let's face it, they were either very extremely young or weren't alive back when that series was and back when that rivalry was at its peak back in the mid-90s. But I think what has kind of brought it back really has been the proximity of a lot of the players from that era to this rivalry now and the playoffs this year, right? You've had players from the New York Knicks. Those, you had the Patrick Ewings in the crowd, right? You had obviously, players from the very recent past for the Knicks in the crowd. Obviously, Spike Lee and a lot of celebrities that were prominent back then are still a part of the rivalry now. And on the Indiana side, you got Reggie Miller is doing games. He's a broadcaster for the NBA on the and the national network, so that is kind of having that familiarity, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I think has made it easier for us to kind of rebrand and re-fire up this rivalry between the Knicks and the Pacers, and then of course moving it to 2025 here. You've got some great players on both sides of on both these teams. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see the likes of Indiana, what they bring to the table with Halliburton and company, of course, against the Villanova Cats, and obviously a New York Knicks team that is primed. And I'll be quite honest with you, I'll be frank, they have an absolute chance to win an NBA championship, and I think even more so than that 1994 team did, because that Houston Rockets team that the Knicks faced was pretty formidable. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch that, even as someone myself who's not a Knicks or a Pacers fan, but is a NBA fan, to kind of see this series unfold.
So the Knicks are going to be taking on the Pacers. They start off the series at home in New York. Right now, the game for tomorrow, Knicks are sitting at -4.5. What are your thoughts when you see a line like that come out with this game? Obviously, all the chatter with Tyrese Halliburton supposedly, quote-unquote, being voted, the almost overrated player in the NBA, which I kind of disagree with that. He hasn't lived up to his expectations, but I don't think he's overrated, if we're being honest with you.
Right.
And honestly, we saw what he's been doing in these NBA playoffs. He's showing everyone that when needed, he can be that guy that puts his team on his back. There are some games where he started off slow, Chris, but in the second half when it matters, he comes out and takes control. We saw the game, I believe it was the closeout game. He had 19 points at halftime. The guy was on fire, could not miss a 3. I'm very interested to see what Jalen Brunson and Cat are going to do in this series, because with all due respect, Cat hasn't been doing all that much. He's been doing a little bit better, but it's all been Jalen Brunson, right? Mr. Clutch, no matter if it's start of the game, mid of the game, especially in the fourth quarter. In my opinion, he is the most clutch fourth quarter player we have seen in a very, very long time. Now, going back to the Minnesota Timberwolves games, which is going to be on here shortly at 5 o'clock, that line currently sitting at 6.5. OKC coming in as the favorite, as they should, 68-win season against a team in Minnesota that comes in with 48 wins here. But what are you seeing in this series, Chris?
Well, I'll tell you what. When it comes to this Knicks series, yes, obviously Jalen Brunson is the straw that stirs the drink, okay? You brought up Karl Anthony Towns, who, is essentially the number 2 on this Knicks team. But I'm telling you right now, Jose, these other and BBW talked about this. Big Brian Windhorst talked about this, and I happen to agree with him.
Kind of lost me there,
Jose. I kind of agree with him. The wings are going to matter in this series. It's going to be about the wings. Yeah. It's going to be the Mikal Bridges. It's going to be the Trey McBrides. It's going to be Anunoby. It's going to be those guys. I think that are going to be the determining factor. in this series. I'm not saying that you're not going to see box scores where you're going to have Jalen Brunson going out there and scoring 30, 32 points, in each game. And you can't be Captain Obvious and say, oh, yeah, he's the reason they're winning games. Yeah, he's going to be a factor, obviously. But I think if the Knicks are going to get over on this resilient Indiana team, and you talked about, it isn't just all about Halliburton. It's also about Pascal Siakam. It's Evan Turner. These other guys,
Nembhard. All these guys got.
These other guys are also going to have to step up as well too for Indiana. So that goes to my point that it's not going to be just about Halliburton and about Jalen in this series, but there'll be the focal points, and it's going to be interesting to see from a defensive standpoint how both these teams approach this series, right? Particularly Indiana, because you want to know how they're going to be able to neutralize. Because if you watch the Knicks, obviously in the last couple series, it wasn't just all about Brunson going out there and lighting up. Although he did have some games where he tore it up, it was about guys like Anunoby and obviously Mikal Bridges, right? Dropping 20 plus in games that were instrumental in them winning those series. You know what I mean? Also guys like Mitchell Robinson, right? Who's someone who's kind of come into his own, particularly from a defensive standpoint, really, and has been a factor for this team. So to me, a big key to this series, Jose Volante, defense, especially when it comes to the Indiana Pacers.
The one thing I will say, too, that has been a big topic of conversation is rest, guys getting tired, guys not being able to finish these games. But then you also have the conversation where people say, well, look at Thibodeau. He basically plays his guys into the ground, doesn't give them any rest. Look at Hart. He won the most minutes played, trophy, whatever it was. But I think that's a good thing, because if you look at what the Knicks have done, they've been able to outlast some of their opponents in the playoffs. They've been able to be more healthy and more strong because they know they can play longer into these games, right? But then I look at Indiana. I look at the Pacers on their side, what they did against Cleveland. How many times were they down by double digits, 20 points? And yet it seemed like it was just a matter of time, right, Chris? Every single game, if you're betting, a matter of time. Should I take them in game? Should I take them live on the money line? And they came through when it mattered most. I think what's going to matter here too, Chris, is the benches. What are we going to see from both benches? Because obviously we know what we get from all of the starting lineups here, but want to give you guys a quick little update on the WNBA side. We do have it up on the screen. Aces up 13-4 in the first quarter. 5 minutes to go there. Hopefully the Aces can keep it going, Chris, because we definitely want to see them get their first win here. Now, moving into the Western Conference Finals, OKC, Minnesota. The one thing about this series is that both teams split the regular season, right? 2-2. Not one team swept, nothing like that. But the craziest stat about it, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is averaging 34.5 points per game against Minnesota. Is that going to be enough is the question. Who else needs to step up for this Oklahoma City Thunder team? Because honestly, I don't see that other person. Obviously, we see Jalen Williams, what he can do when he starts getting hot. The biggest X factor and question mark is Lou Dort. The guy is so inconsistent that we don't know when he's going to step up. But against Minnesota, he had some of his best defensive games, right? And some people wonder why he wasn't on the All-NBA defensive team. That's a conversation. That's a topic for another show as well. But me personally, I don't think Minnesota has enough. I know both teams are young. I know Julius Randle is getting hot at the right time. Some people are saying maybe this is Julius Randle's best season of his career, including the playoffs, because of what he's done. Obviously, statistically, it's the best playoff that he's had in his career, right? These first two rounds have been amazing. He's been balling out. But I also think it's been the situations and the teams that they played. You play the Lakers in the first round. You think Julius Randle is not going to go off? You think he doesn't want to prove to the LA franchise and the fan bases that, hey, you guys screwed up by letting me go a long time ago. You should have kept me. I could have been more of a nucleus. So that helped him out in that series, obviously. Then we saw the next series, what he did, what Anthony Edwards has done. I still think when it's all said and done, OKC will win this. I think they will get into the finals. But the one guy that I think can really help them coming off the bench, if he stays consistent, because when he gets hot, he's good. And he guarded Nikolai Djokovic most of the game in the last game.
Here we go.
Alex Caruso.
I knew it was coming, baby.
I truly believe that Alex Caruso
it was only a matter of time where this guy's name was going to get brought up.
A X factor in this series, Chris. I'm being honest with you. Well, am I wrong? Am I right?
No, you're right. It was just funny because you did talk about it, and you started off your take in the last 3 minutes here by saying who's going to be the guy that's going to step up behind SGA, right? And I was locked and loaded, Jose Volante.
You were ready for
to
that
bring up Caruso, and I hate doing it because I still immediately think of the Lakers.
Lakers,
okay,
sure, yeah, 100%.
when I think of Caruso, so I know he played for the Bulls and some other teams, but come on. So, but it's going to be guys. Look, I just talked about how there's going to be guys that have to step up right for these other teams in the Eastern Conference Finals. What about for the Oklahoma City Thunder? It's not going to just be Caruso. You got to get Hartenstein into the mix. You got to get Chet Holmgren playing at a level that I think a lot of us believe Chet Holmgren can play at.
Yep.
A lot of people, a lot of talking heads in the NBA, right, Jose, don't really believe that Chet Holmgren would be a top-tier NBA player. They think he can be solid, but there isn't a belief by a lot of people out there that Chet Holmgren can be that guy. I think he can. I think he does have the ability to do that. It's still left to be seen whether or not he can do that. They're going to get production from both Jalen's, right? Yeah. You think you're going to get you expect to get something out of guys like Isaiah Joe off the bench, right? Some of these pieces, I mean, maybe not huge contributions,
but you got to get something.
But being factors, you know what I mean? So there are pieces. Let me tell you something, Jose. I got to get your take on this. Seeing that last game against the Nuggets, going into, I talked about this on the air. You heard it, I'm pretty sure, on a couple other shows. I talked about this matchup in their final game against Denver, right? Where there was some people out there, even former basketball players, Kendrick Perkins, who were like a little bit worried, saying, hey, this is a young Oklahoma City team, right? You get put into a position where you're facing adversity, which is a game 7, right, where it's do or die, and you're a bunch of young players never been facing that. What are they going to do from an offensive standpoint? Are they going to get cold feet, right? Are they going to get jittery? Are they going to start launching the ball off the backboard and over the backboard, and getting nervous? Wasn't the case, right, Jose? In that game 7, OKC showed out. Yeah. Offensively, they were excellent, right? Particularly in the second half, obviously. The last 6 minutes of the game is garbage time, but you get my point. So I don't think there really is a concern, quite frankly, that they're in the Western Conference Finals, kind of going headstrong towards a NBA championship, possibly, even with this young team. So to me, I was very impressed by Oklahoma City and the way they were able to execute in that last game against Denver, and I think that continues in this series against Minnesota.
It's going to be an interesting series on both sides, obviously Eastern and Western Conference. Give you guys a little bit of an update here on the MLB side. Chicago Cubs on the road against Miami. Bottom of the third, 1-1 tie there. Top of the third in Pittsburgh, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, deadlock at 0. Going to the bottom of the second inning in Washington, Atlanta, tied 3-3 with the Nationals. Top of the second, Mets on the road, staying in Boston there, taking on the Red Sox. 0-0, 2 men on for the Mets. See if they can get some runs on the board. A lot of Juan Soto conversation coming up in the show here as well. We got to talk about that shortly. And Texas and my Yankees, bottom of the first, 0-0. Let's see if Aaron Judge can get on the board with another home run, as he does pretty much almost every game, Chris. San Diego, 0-0 deadlock against Toronto, bottom of the first. We have a rain delay in Chicago. Seattle Mariners tied 0-0 with Chicago. 2 games have been suspended and postponed. Cleveland and Minnesota, 1-2 score there has been suspended. Postponed game is going to be the second because it was a doubleheader today, so it looks like there will be no more games there. Got a lot more coming up. 4:45. Your Detroit Tigers trying to get back on the winning end after their winning streak getting knocked off there by the Cardinals.
They got beat by, but Terry Skubal on the bump for the Tigers tonight. And a fun matchup also in Los Angeles, right, Jose, with the Dodgers taking on the D-backs there. So a big matchup with the National League West. By the way, I'm curious, who has the most wins in Major League Baseball? I don't know. I can't seem to think about it.
He was talking about it on
I don't
Sunday
understand.
Night, and he's going to bring him up again.
I can't seem to remember, Mr. Volante, who has the best record in baseball.
It's your Detroit Tigers, bro. It is. You guys got a buff. You got 31 wins, I believe.
31 wins.
31 wins, looking good. But the big question mark is, can you guys keep it going, right? Obviously, big shout out to my guy, Evan. You know who Evan is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He's a big Cardinal fan. I was hitting him up last night, telling him, hey, your Cardinals, man, getting hot here at the right time as well. But you guys are going against my guy, Chris Wynn's team there. But let's talk a little bit of baseball. Let's jump into baseball here and mix it in real quick, because you had a conversation with our guy, Tom Barton, the other night on Sunday night on another show here in Las Vegas. And you guys brought up Paul Skeens from the Pittsburgh Pirates. I texted you guys during the show telling you that my opinion was that he is literally the new age Felix Hernandez, a great pitcher on a team that can get no run support whatsoever. And it sucks when you see a guy with so much talent. And it begs to differ the question, will he be traded? Felix never got traded. He stayed with Seattle. I don't think that's going to be the case here with Paul Skeens because Pittsburgh just got rid of their manager. They're not looking that good whatsoever. This guy needs to be on a team that can win and can win now.
SportsX Radio Nation and Numchuck, by the way, Jose Vellante, solid comparison, by the way, to King Felix and to Paul Skeens. But let me tell you something. We talked about this, right, Jose, myself, and Tommy. It's the Pittsburgh Pirates MO. This is what they do, okay? Yes. Would it be a great thing, obviously, in the Steel City and for all things Pittsburgh Pirate fans to keep somebody that is a generational pitching talent, which Paul Skeens is, in the mix there with the Pirates as your ace for years to come? Absolutely. The problem is we all have a recollection of history. We all know what has happened, right, with the Pittsburgh Pirates over the past 15, 20, 25 years. What is that, Jose? It's that anybody that is a talent or that is a commodity, right, ends up getting shipped out of town regardless of what their accolades are or how good they are or what the projection is because of the economics or because of the preference with respect to the management there in Pittsburgh, whether it's a general manager or the ownership, right? It has nothing to do with the managers or the baseball field, everyday baseball people on the field. It has everything to do with the organization, and there's been no indication that that's going to change yet with Pittsburgh. So, yes, I think that there is a possibility. Now, is there an outside chance? That's the way I'm going to describe it. That's the way I'll characterize it, Jose. That he stays there? Yeah, there is an outside chance that the Pirates are going to turn the corner, much like I think that the A's organization needs to turn the corner when they come to Vegas, right? And not operate the way that they've operated the past 2 decades because it's going to infuriate especially the Las Vegas fans because of the newness and because there's an expectation that the team's going to try to win here. But if you have a history like the Pittsburgh Pirates do, there's no reason to believe that they're going to turn away from that anytime soon unless they do. You know, they won't trade him, Jose Vellante, and this is all end the take, until they do. And then if they do, then it's pretty much, business as usual when it's all things Pittsburgh Pirates, and it's not going to shock anybody.
I think that the Pirates should get their head out of there, what?
Yep.
And just make the right move for him. Because with all due respect, I feel bad for the guy because he's going to end up having a lot more losses on his record than he should. And I used to see, like I said, I used to see the same thing with King Felix. I'm not trying to keep going back to him, but I remember watching him and always thinking, man, I feel so bad for this guy because statistically, he could have been a way better pitcher if he had the wins, right? Obviously, as a pitcher, we know he was good. But on paper, everyone likes to look at the numbers, right? There's a lot of statistical nerds or whatever you want to call that. Oh, he didn't win enough games. But do your research. He didn't win enough games because he could not get the run support. And that's like another guy I can kind of bring up a little bit. It's Clayton Kershaw. Right. If you followed his career, a lot of 1-2 run games where he dominated but got a lot of losses due to the fact that no run support. Obviously, different Dodger teams now. All that has changed. But it's interesting to see, will this all end up as a trade? Does he finish out the season with Pittsburgh? It's yet to be seen, but that'll be a great conversation if and when it does happen. Now, going back to the
but quickly on that, Jose, the numbers are hilarious, right? I mean, hilarious. Paul Skeens is what is he 0-3, and he has like a 2.25 ERA or something like that. Insane. And in games that in which the decision is there's been a decision in the games he's got even a lower eye, something like that. It's like the numbers are ridiculous when you take a look at it from the standpoint of they're just not giving him support, and that is just something that if you're the Pittsburgh organization, you got to fix that, or else it might be justified to have him go have a new face in a new place somewhere.
So my question for you, and since we're sticking to baseball, let's move over to the Dodgers organization and what they have and haven't been doing. The numbers, record-wise, don't look as good as what we expected, right? Obviously, we expected a lot more from this team on paper based off of what they did in the offseason. All the players they brought in, all the money. A lot of cuts have been happening recently. Some guys that were popular, no longer there. Some people say they should be, but in my opinion, they're old. That's why they got rid of them. They need to
pieces of championships.
Correct. Yeah, pieces of championships, definitely. But
Steiners, the Nevada South Club invites you to play the best.
Their biggest issue right now is their pitching.
Yeah.
Bullpen, everything else. It's just not working out the way that they expected it to be. What do you think about the Dodgers? Are the Dodgers in trouble, or is it still too soon to say that?
It's too soon to say that. I'm not going to go out. I mean, because there's a reason why that they're a consensus pick to win the National League West and are a consensus pick basically to repeat as World Series champions. And that's not something that has drastically changed, right, over the past 6 to 7 weeks when it comes to the beginning of the season. So no, I'm not in a mindset where it's panic mode necessarily, but again, I'll kind of bounce this back to you in a little bit here because yes, the release designated assignment for Clayton Kershaw, right? You have obviously Chris Taylor has been let go by the organization. Barnes, the catcher, right, longtime guy for them as well too. And so you're talking about those are 3 guys right there, right? That were the remaining remaining players from the years where they won multiple World Series, right? So it does kind of open your eyes a little bit, but from a standpoint of the organization and kind of the bedrock, right, and the nucleus, they're just fine. And the guys that are actually on the field right now and playing every day are pretty stellar, right? When you're talking about the likes of Mookie Betts, obviously Edmund just came off the injured list as well too. He's a big factor for them. So this is a team. Freddie Freeman. I go on and on. The point being is that I definitely don't think Dodger fan and even the organization is in any type of panic mode. But I think there is a recognition that there is going to be kind of a cosmetic change, is the way I'll describe it, with this team moving forward, and especially since it's still early on in the season.
So I don't think they're in trouble now, Chris, but I think that they can get in some trouble if they don't fix this and they don't fix it soon. If you look at the NL West, there's literally 3 games that separate first from fourth. Right? Literally, the Diamondbacks are sitting at 26-22, as where the Dodgers are 29-19. And the Diamondbacks just beat the Dodgers last night, which gives them another edge to keep going forward to win that, right? So the thing about it is if the Dodgers don't figure this out soon, they can be in trouble. San Diego Padres started off hot, one of the hottest teams in baseball the first couple of weeks, have kind of cooled off, taken a back seat there. So we'll definitely see how that division ends up. We got to go ahead and take our first break of the evening here. Your Las Vegas Aces up by 11 at the end of the first quarter, 25-14. Chris says, not a shock there.
Blowout.
They're favored by 14.5. So we'll see if they can cover that point spread. But remember, you are tuned in to SportsX Radio, KSHP Radio, 107.1 on the FM dial, and streaming worldwide on sportsxradio.com. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Steiner's, the Nevada South Pub, invites you to play the best tavern, keno, and video poker in Vegas. Promos are how we roll, so make the most of your gaming dollars here with us. Come play in our ongoing gaming promotions and receive daily free play, bonuses, and more. With a chance to win Knights, Raiders, and Aviator tickets, and big money with all those jackpots. It's not only the great gaming that Steiner's Pub has, it's the 24 awesome rotating draft beers and best appetizers to match. So join us in watching your baseball Aviators and all your home sports teams as we make history in Vegas. Steiner's, the Nevada Style Pub at 8410 West Cheyenne, 1750 North Buffalo, and Las Vegas Boulevard and Windmill. Steiner's, I love this place.
Hey, bartender, what'd you learn in school? Twist at the school we were down, and I recommend you go on it. Bartend. Kamikaze, Long Island Ice, pussy, they will handle sex on the beat. Margarita, Bloody Mary, so cheap. Learn to make them all on the rocks with a twist at the school you attend, and I highly recommend you go on it. Bartend.
Forklift University. Learn to drive a forklift now. Forklift University, centrally located near Sahara and the I-50, with one-day classes and small class sizes, which means lots of drive time. Forklift University. This is the only forklift certification training you'll need. Mention this ad and receive 10% off enrollment. Forklift University. Learn to drive a forklift at forkliftuniversity.com. Are you a shy smiler? Terrified of any food tougher than tofu? Do you wish there was some sort of reverse tooth fairy who puts teeth back into your mouth? If so, then AQ Denture and Dental Implant Center in Henderson might be able to help. AQ is an in-network provider for Medicare dental plans and one of the most technically advanced dental offices in the Valley. Dr. Maricondia is an internationally recognized expert in implant dentistry, and AQ's on-site lab means your custom implants, dentures, bridges, crowns, and more are ready faster and fit better. Call AQ Dental for a free consultation at 702-565-6000 or visit aqdentureservice.com. That's 702-565-6000. Dr. Maricondia may not be the reverse tooth fairy, but he can help restore your smile to its former glory. New smile, new you. Just call AQ. Think all guitars are pretty much the same? They're not. The guitars from Wild Audio are better, bolder, stunningly beautiful, and offer a playability unmatched by even the legacy guitar. Wild Audio guitars, tailor-made for Black Label Society frontman and Pantera reunion guitarist Zakk Wylde. Guitars from Wild Audio come in the most amazing shapes and finishes. Then when you plug them in, wow, the sound, the fret reach, the playability. See why Slash, Kirk Hammett, Brad Paisley, and more are wild about their Wild Audio guitars. And they've got basses, acoustic guitars, accessories, and left-handed instruments too. Wild Audio guitars for craftsmanship, durability, versatility, and oh my God, the sound. Visit wild-audio.com. That's WYLDE-audio.com. And go wild. There's Super, and then there's Super. The Superbook at Westgate, Las Vegas. The largest, most exciting race and sportsbook in the world. Home of the Super Contest and Super Contest Gold. The largest wagering menu in Nevada. Walls of 4K LED screens. Free Wi-Fi. Convenient parking right outside the book. 30,000 square feet of action. And action outside the book on the Westgate Superbook app. Available in the App Store. Wager anywhere inside Nevada State Line. The Superbook at Westgate, Las Vegas. Where the action is.
Looking for your next adventure on the road? Findlay Toyota has you covered. With an unbeatable selection of brand new Toyotas, you'll find the perfect ride to fit your lifestyle and your budget. Whether it's the rugged Tacoma, the adventurous RAV4, or the powerful Tundra, at Findlay Toyota, we make financing easy and stress-free, no matter your credit situation. Findlay Toyota, driven to excellence. At the Valley Auto Mall in Henderson or online at findlaytoyota.com.
Steiner's, the Nevada Style Pub, invites you to play the best tavern, keno, and video poker in Vegas. Promos are how we roll, so make the most of your gaming dollars here with us. Come play in our ongoing gaming promotions and receive daily free play, bonuses, and more, with a chance to win Knights, Raiders, and Aviator tickets, and big money with all those jackpots. It's not only great gaming that Steiner's Pub has, it's the 24 awesome rotating draft beers and best appetizers in match. So join us in listening to USC Trojans, LA Rams, and all your home sports teams as we make history in Vegas. Steiner's, the Nevada Style Pub at 8410 West Cheyenne, 1750 North Buffalo, and Las Vegas Boulevard and Windmill. Steiner's, I love this place.
Grew up on the crime side, the New York Times side, staying alive.
I'm just coming back with some of my old school hits there from when I was a kid. Some good stuff there, man.
Jose, giving us memories of those first series of the Knicks and the Pacers back in the 90s, playing a little woo back in the day.
Good take there, man. Good audio to bring it in. Yeah. You guys already know you're tuning to Sports X Radio, live 107.1 FM here at KSHP 1400 on the AM dial. And, of course, streaming worldwide, sportsxradio.com. And we are live on the video if you want to go ahead and see what we look like with our guests coming up as well. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Just check out Straight Bet Sports or Jose V, and you can definitely check all that out. Right now, give you guys a quick another little update. Ace is up 11, 32-21 with 6 minutes to go in the second quarter. Can the Aces hold on is yet to be seen. We have a lot of game left. Just want to give you guys a couple news and notes from the world of sports. Former Sporting Kansas City midfielder Gadi Kinder died. His club, Maccabi Haifa FC, announced on Tuesday he was only 31 years old. Kinder was hospitalized while going through a complex medical battle in recent weeks. Maccabi Haifa announced 2 weeks ago the Israeli international last played in a match for Maccabi Haifa on March 29th. It kind of sucks when you hear news like that. Obviously, you never want to see any player pass away, no matter what age it is.
And not a sports passing, but an owner of a sports bar on television, of course, Sam Malone. obviously the much heralded sitcom Cheers. And George Wendt passed away, actor, longtime favorite on that show. George Wendt passes away in his 80s, so that was kind of sad news to see for a lot of us TV heads from back in the 80s and 90s.
And then we also have something that came across while we were on break about baseball, which we'll get to. But final news and notes here, something a little bit locally. Drivers Kurt Busch and Ray Hendrick and Harry Gant were voted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame today, while executive Humphrey Wheeler was named the Landmark Award winner for his contribution to the sport. The ceremony is going to be January 23rd of next year, and where they will officially have everybody for the 2026 class. So it's good to see someone local, obviously, right, with Kurt Busch there, getting the nod into the Hall of Fame. Obviously, great racer, great driver. We've seen what he's done. Gets a little bit of heated every now and then, but that's part of the sports and what it happens there. Now, going back to baseball, Chris, you and I were just talking about it. Andrew Jones, former Atlanta Brave, even Dodger, finished out his career there with the Dodgers, will be the head coach for the Netherlands in the 2026 World Baseball Classic. What are your thoughts when it comes to former players getting these type of positions, whether it's for a World Baseball Classic or whether it's a major league job, right? Do you think it's good moves for these teams to do that? Do you think he's ready to coach one of these teams? What are we going to see from him?
Yeah, I don't know anything about Andrew Jones as far as his experience when it comes to being a manager, but it's the World Baseball Classic, right? He's going to be the manager of the Netherlands.
Yep.
So we're not talking about like a regular gig. So I have no problem with it whatsoever. Usually it's players that have some type of tie to the nation or that they have that nationality, obviously, are going to be picks. And Andrew Jones, look, you could have watched a lot of the national coverage this past weekend. John Smoltz is now a regular co-host when it comes to broadcasters, right, on Fox Sports National. And they were doing a game over the weekend. He brought up his former teammate, Andrew Jones. Andrew Jones, a guy that a lot of people believe should be a Hall of Famer. He should be in Cooperstown right now.
Oh, I agree 100%.
And yet has not got the call yet. So a little bit surprising there, but no question about it. When you think of Andrew Jones, clearly one of the best defensive outfielders in Major League Baseball history to go along with his offensive prowess as well, too. So it's going to be great. It's a great thing for the Netherlands to have a guy like that at the helm. So for me, I have absolutely no problem with it whatsoever. And I concur with John Smoltz. I think that it is far past time where Andrew Jones gets the call to Cooperstown.
Sticking to a couple more conversations when it comes to players, Chris. Obviously, we saw Juan Soto over the weekend, right? Playing my New York Yankees back in New York. We saw the fans turning their back on Juan Soto when he hit the outfield, basically saying, nope, no, Juan, we don't care. We don't love you no more. It wasn't that bad, though. Some people kind of take it out of context and try to make it more than it is. But we saw what he did against Boston yesterday, right? Not hustling, not running after that ball gets hit. Not only that, you put your teammates in situations where they get caught, right? They get caught out, things of that nature. He got called out by his manager basically saying, you got to keep running. You can't stop, right? But also we've seen his struggles this season compared to how he played when he was on the other side of New York, when he was with the Yankees, batting behind Aaron Judge, right? Knowing that he had that. He had more of an opportunity to hit and get more pitches that he wanted his way. He's batting 250 right now. I believe he has 8 home runs, give or take, maybe 20 RBIs around there. But we're not seeing the season that we expected, in my opinion, this early from Juan Soto after getting that freaking ridiculous contract that he got. But is this a cause for concern from the New York Mets? Because obviously we know what he can do with the bat, but let's be real. Also on the defensive side of the ball, the guy has been horrible this year. And that's something that has been one of the issues he's had in his career. We know he's never been a great fielder.
No.
He can hit the crap out of that ball, no problem, but not a great fielder. What does Juan Soto need to do, or what do the Mets need to do to try to get Juan Soto back on track to where they know the type of player he can be?
Yeah, to me, there's a lot of similarities with respect to kind of a mindset with Rafael Devers in Boston kind of thing, right? They need to get him kind of back on track. Look, we understand he didn't get the big contract, Jose, with the Mets because of his ability in the field. Okay, that's not why. All right, he is for them to be successful, right? For the Mets to be a playoff contender and a World Series contender, they're going to need to have Juan Soto be a monster offensively. Now, you just referred to it, the situation of not running things out. Look, I got a problem with this, Jose, okay? I'll say it flat out.
Say it.
I'm old school,
Yep.
okay? And I came up playing baseball from old school coaches in the Midwest, And a lot of this stuff, when it happens, when you get players that are laissez-faire, that are lackadaisical, they're not running out plays, right? They're not, charging 100% on balls, either in the outfield or on the infield. There's a lot of old school baseball heads. They got a real problem with it, right? But the reality is what? That a lot of the younger players, they just don't care.
Yeah.
There's a different mindset in some of these players today. And even, quite frankly, if we're being completely honest, it happened back in the 90s, too. It happened in the 2000s and maybe into the 80s with people like Ricky Henderson, unbelievable player, right? Unbelievable. But I was at games in which there were hecklers that were all over him because there was times when Ricky didn't play the hardest, is the way I'll say it, in the outfield, right? When there was a play that could have been made that he could have made. Now, we understand the reality of sometimes games are blowouts. It's 10-2. Okay. So we just kind of let it go. But those situations raising their head is something that hasn't changed. And it hasn't changed. Obviously, you just described it. I did not see the plays in which Juan Soto was lollygagging a little bit this past weekend. You did. But there is more of an opportunity, is the way I'll put it, I guess, nowadays for younger players to get in that mindset than there was in the past. I'm not saying there wasn't in the past, but there's more now. So in a long-winded way, I guess what I'm saying is that I guess they're just going to have to kind of deal with that kind of stuff from Juan Soto and every other player in Major League Baseball that Juan Soto's not the only one that does it, right? So, but I still think that, again, this is a Mets team that's, 10 games over 500. Yeah. They're about, I think they're a half game back in the division. I don't think it's a major issue for them, but, maybe there are times where if you have a veteran on that team that can nudge along Juan Soto a little bit, maybe talk to him and say, hey, look, we need you at your best, performing at your best, and playing hard all the time. And for whatever that's worth, maybe that is something that could rectify that situation.
Now, the one thing that I will say that you mentioned was that it's something they're just going to have to deal with moving forward.
Right.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all because you paid this guy so much money. It should not be something you have to deal with. It should be something that you must work on, make him get better. You didn't pay him all this money just to be who he wants. You paid him all this money because of who he was before he came to the New York Mets. And with all due respect, he has not been the same player at all this season, even though it's early. I get that. Anything can happen. He can turn it around. But the fact that you say that they have to deal with it, I disagree with that. I don't think that any major league team should have to deal with something like that when you've paid a player so much.
I get what you're saying, but then I'll bounce this off you, Jose, and get your reaction. So he's not a rookie, right? I mean, he's been in Major League Baseball for a while. Won a World Series with the Nationals. He's been there for a while. So in a real life situation, how do you get him to do that, right? He hasn't changed at all since he's been in the major leagues. Yep. Now, in a perfect scenario, right? In a perfect world, right, Jose Volante, you would want him to be like, hey, I'm Juan Soto. I want to be better defensively. I want to be better in the field. I understand that I'm great offensively, but I try to get better offensively every day. How about this? I want to get better defensively every day, too. You want him to have that mindset, right, Jose?
Yes, 100%.
But what's the reality? The reality is you get, $400 million in your bank account, right? You get, you get accolades. You have everybody around you telling you how great you are. And look, I don't know Juan personally, okay? I don't know him personally, so I don't know exactly what his mindset is. But I got to believe that it would be extremely difficult in a real-world situation for Juan Soto to be like, to all of the sudden, on May 21st, 2025, to be like, okay, now I'm going to kick it into gear and improve myself from a defensive standpoint.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens moving forward for the for the rest of the season, not only with the Mets, but with everybody else in Major League Baseball, because I think there's a lot more parity now, Chris. I'm sitting here looking at the records as you're talking. There's a lot of teams that, even though they're below 500, they're not that far off. You look at the A's, 22-26, 4 games away from 500. Can they end up changing it? Be a playoff team this year, making some moves before they get to Vegas, right? A lot of conversation still left there, obviously, in the world of baseball. Quick little note here. My guy Ben Rice with a home run for the Yankees. Yankees up 1-0. in the bottom of the first inning there. Nationals take the lead 4-3 over the Braves. Deadlock is done there. Astros up 1-0 on the Rays on the road. Blue Jays take a 1-0 lead over the Padres. Brewers and Orioles still locked at 0. Mariners still in a rain delay there. Top of the first, Chris. Cardinals, Tigers, 0-0. No score there, so we'll definitely keep you guys updated on that. Aces up by 15, covering the point spread currently 38-23, 2:58 to go in the
bounce back
first
game, right,
half.
Jose?
Got to have that bounce back game. But, Chris, we still have some more conference finals, obviously, on the NHL side. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I follow the Knights. That's probably the most that I do in the NHL. You're the NHL guy. I give you the credit. I can talk to you, and you can bring up things that possibly most people don't even know. But going into these series is obviously with what we have tonight. Florida going on the road in Carolina to play the Hurricanes, right? It's going to be an interesting matchup there. We saw what the Panthers had to go through with Toronto. It was an interesting series there, going all the way to Game 7, and then the Panthers just smash them, scoring all those goals at the end of that series. But not only that, Brad Marchand had a really, really good game when it comes to points, and he's actually stepping up. The guy's 38 years old, and he's still out there doing his thing, Chris. What do you think we're going to see when it comes to this series? Both teams basically 47 wins on the season, pretty much even there, and we're looking at the betting lines. Minus 130 for Carolina, plus 110 on Florida. So obviously the books don't really see much of a favorite here to start. What are your thoughts on the opening series here tonight, 5 p.m., Panthers on the road against Carolina?
Yeah, Jose, puck drops at 5 o'clock on the Eastern Conference side of things, right, with Carolina taking on those defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. Look, all kinds of intrigue, right, Jose? When it came to that Game 7 with the Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champions, taking on a perennial bridesmaid in the Toronto Maple Leafs, a team that continuously every season, Jose Vellante, are a team that is picked from a talent standpoint to be Stanley Cup worthy and then not being able to get it done. So that was a huge deal, right, in the semifinals when it came to the Eastern Conference semifinals. And then, of course, all the Toronto fans going home empty-handed once again and just empty-hearted when it came to that. So it wasn't a real shock, though, when it came to the Florida Panthers, right? This is a quality Florida Panthers hockey club, right? You're talking about a scenario in which you've got one of the best goaltenders in hockey, right, in Sergei Bobrovsky. You've got a team that is loaded with veterans that just did it last year, right? You have experience on that team. You know, it's not just all about Tkachuk. It's not just all about, a defensive core that's solid. It is about a team effort, which is what got them past a quality Toronto Maple Leafs team.
A
and
tough
now
Toronto team.
You're facing a Carolina team. It sets up kind of for an outstanding matchup, and you got a Carolina team. We talk about this all the time in hockey, and especially in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Hot goalies matter, and Anderson is that when it comes to the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yep.
Because I'll be honest with you, you just talked about how I'm like the hockey guy. Well, I kind of am, but not a lot of the average hockey fans out there and the everyday NHL fans can maybe name, if you're outside of Raleigh, North Carolina, can maybe name like 2 players off the team.
Right.
I'm not kidding.
No, I believe you 100%.
And they are in the Eastern Conference Finals, right? And there is some history between these two teams, so that's what's going to add to the intrigue. But for me, most of the interesting part of this series is the Florida Panthers. Can they continue to keep rolling? Can they continue the ride to get to a Stanley Cup final and have an opportunity to repeat? So for me, that's really the big story on the Eastern side. On the Western side, obviously, we're more familiar with it being here in Vegas with the Golden Knights. Edmonton looked impressive. Let's make no mistake about it. Basically, the Vegas Golden Knights could not score a goal in the final 2 games of the series. They basically stunted Las Vegas from an offensive standpoint, right? And that's difficult to do when you got guys like Jack Eichel, and William Karlsson, all these pieces that have been pretty prolific, especially when it comes to postseason hockey for the Vegas Golden Knights. So Edmonton being able to do that, especially when you're like switching goaltenders in the middle of the series, you know what I mean? And still being able to do that, that bodes well for the confidence of Stuart Skinner going into this matchup against the Dallas Stars. Of course, another rematch from a year ago with the Dallas Stars where the Stars got bounced by the Edmonton Oilers. So there's motivation on Dallas' side. We have familiarity, of course, with Dallas being that Pete DeBoer, former head coach. And Pete, to me, this is this is one of the storylines in this series, is that Pete DeBoer, can he get to the mountaintop, right? He's been a guy who's been a pretty solid coach. I don't think anybody thinks Pete's a great coach, but he's decent. You know, he's pretty good. And, and I think a lot of the negativity when it comes to him is more about his personality because he's kind of a bland guy, right? Kind of a mellow dude.
Very quiet.
That's fine. That's fine. But can he hoist the Stanley Cup? That's the thing. So for me, that's a big thing. Look, they got Dodonov, and they've got obviously a number of pieces there in Dallas that might be able to get them there. I don't think they're as good as Edmonton, though, Jose Vellante. Edmonton is a quality team. It's not just about, obviously, the powerhouses, the big two, right? It's a combination of guys like Evander Kane and, a lot of these players that are even long in the tooth. When you're talking about Corey Perry and some of these guys, yet they're still performing at a high level. You have a solid defensive core, which is top notch also down there. And then again, as I mentioned, Stuart Skinner's playing well. Edmonton right now, to me, is the favorite to win the Stanley Cup.
I think they're the hottest team.
And it's going to be a heck of a. I want a rematch. Okay, Jose.
Who doesn't?
I want a rematch of the Oilers and the Panthers in the Stanley Cup final. I get it. Florida's not a traditional hockey market, okay? No one's going to talk about Fort Lauderdale and Sunrise like it's Toronto or New York or Detroit or, Montreal or even Vegas at this point. You know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah.
It just isn't. It's South Florida, okay? But they have built something nice down there. It is they're a quality hockey club and on all phases.
Yeah.
And they're going to be tough to beat. But I just think this is the year that Edmonton does it. And obviously it'll be a huge deal north of the border.
Correct.
Because a Canadian team hasn't won since 1993 when the Montreal Canadiens won. So I am rooting for that. I'm rooting.
You're rooting for history.
Hey, all you so-called patriots out there, don't rain down on the veteran over here.
Don't be mad.
About rooting for a team that's outside the U.S. I think that Edmonton is probably going to have a real opportunity, Jose, to win the Stanley Cup.
I'll be honest with you. I think that Edmonton is the hottest team right now in these playoffs going into these conference finals. And I would love to see them go in there and win it all. I have nothing against Connor McDavid. I love the guy. I think he's a great player. I think he's a great guy. He's good with the media. I just think that it's time for him to get that chip. You know what I mean? Jack Eichel got it. They were in the same draft class, I believe. So now I think it's his turn next, right? Obviously, sour taste in your mouth losing last year. Hopefully you can get that back-to-back. Our guy Evan Guerra chimes in on Twitter. He says, Panthers are going back to the Stanley Cup final. I agree with that. I think they'll get back. I don't see any issues with that, but I think it's going to be fun moving forward.
But to your point, you brought up Connor McDavid, right? Yeah. I don't even think it's going to be about Connor McDavid, right? I mean, obviously, you expect Connor McDavid. He's the best player in the world.
Correct.
Okay, so you expect him to be a factor, but Leon Draisaitl could be the guy.
Anyone on that
team
you
could see a situation, right, Jose, where Leon Draisaitl has like 9 goals in the next 2 series if they get to the Stanley Cup final. I mean, that's how big he's been. And by the way, he was a bigger factor than Connor McDavid was in the Vegas series.
Correct.
Leon Draisaitl was a more impactful player than Connor McDavid was. So to me, that's going to be a factor to look at too.
So we got to go to break here shortly. But one thing I wanted to tap on before we finish up the first hour, because we are going to talk about this moving forward with our next guest here, Nick Hamilton, at the top of the second hour, was the conversation between Ryan Clark and RG3, right? We saw all of that happened because of the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark situation over the weekend. But the one thing that you never do is you never make it personal. And I believe that Ryan crossed that line. If you guys saw his podcast Pivot, he was on there talking about how RG3 can't really have that conversation at home because his wife is white and she doesn't know what it is to be a black woman struggling and this and that. I don't like that. I hate that completely, especially when we're trying to not make things about race, but yet you keep making it about race. Like Ryan Clark has been that guy that always tries to push the needle and trigger it. And it's crazy that he does that real quick. 52-29. Ace is absolutely murdering the Connecticut Sun here.
Nobody's sweating, Jose, right? They went to the window, went a little Las Vegas Aces tonight. Not sweating at all.
No, not at all. But real quick, Chris, before we go to break, just give me a minute and a half. What do you got? How do you feel about what Ryan said on the response of RG3? Now real quick, RG3 also kind of messed up a bit because I don't think Angel hates Caitlin. So for him to kind of say that is kind of trying to push a narrative, but Ryan Clark is also trying to push his.
Well, I know we're going to go to break and we're going to get into this a lot with Nick, right? So I don't want to dive too much into it. But this is what I will say. I'll respond to what you said, right? I would agree that I think he crossed the line. I think Ryan Clark absolutely positively crossed the line, because when you start bringing the wives into it, when you start bringing children into it, when you're talking about sports takes, okay, you're responding to a sports take. That's what you're doing, right? It's not like he personally attacked you in any way, shape, or form, right? It's not like he went out and just kind of created some scenario in his head and it was a take that was just outrageously biased, right? Or he went down the racial road, right, in that way that could be portrayed as something that was extremely negative. It was a sports take that RG3 had, responding to, by the way, and we're going to talk about this as I pointed out, talking about a play that happens every single night in the NBA.
Every night.
Right? And it happens, and if we're being honest, it happens a lot in the WNBA too. Mm-hmm. But they don't make some huge national issue about it, okay? But because it was involving Caitlin Clark and Reese, it becomes a monster deal, and it leads to a point that I brought up, where and I'm going to talk about with you and Nick, that I think is kind of a underlying major factor in this, and I know I'm just kind of teasing it a little bit going into it, but there's a lot of moving parts, Mr. Vellante, when it comes to this situation, and it's not just because of the actual event, because the event was ridiculous. It wasn't a big deal. Both players, even after the situation, were like, yeah, it's basketball, but because of social media and because of the media and because of kind of that whole the Reese Clark dynamic, it got blown up.
Good stuff. First hour, Nungcha got to play that song, obviously. Tribute, rest in peace for sure. But good stuff, Chris. Greatly appreciate you, my man. First hour in the books. You guys are tuning in to SportsX Radio, KSHP 107.1 on the FM dial. Coming up at the top of the second hour, our guy Nick Hamilton joining us as we continue this conversation. Don't go anywhere.
Roll out of bed, Mr. Coffee's dead. The morning's looking bright. Your shrink
Snyder's, the Nevada South Pub, invites you to play the best tavern, keno, and video poker in Vegas. Promos are how we roll, so make the most of your gaming dollars here with us. Come play in our ongoing gaming promotions and receive daily free play, bonuses, and more, with a chance to win Knights, Raiders, and Aviator tickets, and big money with all those jackpots. It's not only the great gaming that Snyder's Pub has, it's the 24 awesome rotating draft beers and best appetizers to match. So join us in listening to the USC Trojans, LA Rams, and all your home sports teams as we make history in Vegas. Snyder's, the Nevada South Pub at 8410 West Cheyenne, 1750 North Buffalo, and Las Vegas Boulevard and Windmill. Snyder's, I love this place.
Forklift University. Learn to drive a forklift now. Forklift University, centrally located near Sahara and the I-50, with one-day classes and small class sizes, which means lots of drive time. Forklift University. This is the only forklift certification training you'll need. Mention this ad and receive 10% off enrollment. Forklift University. Learn to drive a forklift at forkliftuniversity.com.
This is John Barr, General Manager at Finley Toyota. Been thinking about getting a new truck? Now's the time. We've got huge incentives on the powerful Toyota Tundra and Tacoma. These trucks are built to handle anything you throw at them. With these deals, they're more affordable than ever. But these offers won't last. Come see us at Finley Toyota before they're gone. We'll make sure you drive off in the truck you've always wanted at the price you deserve. Finley Toyota, Nevada's #1 selling dealership at the Valley Auto Mall in Henderson.
Are you a shy smiler? Terrified of any food tougher than tofu? Do you wish there was some sort of reverse tooth fairy who puts teeth back into your mouth? If so, then AQ Denture and Dental Implant Center in Henderson might be able to help. AQ is an in-network provider for Medicare dental plans and one of the most technically advanced dental offices in the Valley. Dr. Maricondia is an internationally recognized expert in implant dentistry, and AQ's on-site lab means your custom implants, dentures, bridges, crowns, and more are ready faster and fit better. Call AQ Dental for a free consultation at 702-565-6000 or visit aqdentureservice.com. That's 702-565-6000. Dr. Maricondia may not be the reverse tooth fairy, but he can help restore your smile to its former glory. New smile, new you. Just call AQ. Think all guitars are pretty much the same? They're not. The guitars from Wild Audio are better. bold, stunningly beautiful, and offer a playability unmatched by even the legacy guitar. Wild Audio Guitars, tailor-made for Black Label Society frontman and Pantera reunion guitarist Zakk Wylde. Guitars from Wild Audio come in the most amazing shapes and finishes. Then when you plug them in, wow, the sound, the fret reach, the playability. See why Slash, Kirk Hammett, Brad Paisley, and more are wild about their Wild Audio guitars. And they've got basses, acoustic guitars, accessories, and left-handed instruments too. Wild Audio guitars for craftsmanship, durability, versatility, and oh my god, the sound. Visit wild-audio.com. That's WYLDE-audio.com. And go wild. There's Super, and then there's Super. The Superbook at Westgate, Las Vegas. The largest, most exciting race and sportsbook in the world. Home of the Super Contest and Super Contest Gold. The largest wagering menu in Nevada. Walls of 4K LED screens. Free Wi-Fi. Convenient parking right outside the book. 30,000 square feet of action. And action outside the book on the Westgate Superbook app. Available in the App Store. Wager anywhere inside Nevada State Line. The Superbook at Westgate, Las Vegas. Where the action is. Sports X Radio, weekday afternoons at 4 on KSHP North Las Vegas, FM, AM, K2968B North Las Vegas, and KSHP.com. Welcome back from halftime. It's just after 5 o'clock in the big city. Time to continue America's favorite Las Vegas sports show, Sports X Radio with Ken Thompson.
Yeah, what up? Party's going on.
Duh. Going to a party.
Sports X Radio with Ken Thompson is brought to you by Shea and Ravapudi, trial lawyers that get results. The Westgate Superbook. It's the largest in the world. Crescent School of Gaming and Bartending, the only school of its kind in the U.S. Finley Toyota. John Barr will do anything to sell you a car. Steiner's Pub, a true Nevada-style pub. And Forklift University, the best forklift training in the Valley. So get ready, because Sports X Radio with Ken Thompson starts now.
Sports X Radio, Jose Volante with you here on a Fat Tuesday. Hour number 2, we are coming to you live from PSR Law Studios. My guy Chris Winn in the studio with me, co-hosting today. Of course, Numchuck behind the wheels of steel, keeping us straight, keeping us right, making sure that we're doing our job the way we. Coming up here, we have our guy, the one and only Nick Hamilton of Nitecast Media. He's also a SIRIUSXM host and a correspondent for the BBC News. Greatly appreciate you jumping on with us, my man. We want to talk to you, of course, about things WNBA and the situation with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. Now, me and Chris started the conversation a little bit before the break, talking about Ryan Clark and his comments based off of what RG3 did and what he said. We wanted to start off with that with you before we jump into the whole Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark situation. But first of all, thank you, my man, for joining the show and giving us a few moments of your time. How you doing?
Hey, man, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm happy, man. I'm alive and breathing. I'm in the studio, so I cannot complain, brother.
There you go.
So tell me, my man, what do you think, first of all, with the whole Ryan Clark and RG3 situation? I mean, obviously, Ryan kind of stirred the pot a little bit there, but RG3 kind of started it as well, saying that Angel hates Caitlin. So what were your thoughts on both situations there?
Well, first and foremost, I went at RG3, not went at him, but I responded to him. Let me say that because I don't want to miss.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
No, because I've interviewed RG3. I've met him a couple of times. You know, nice guy, but he's absolutely incredibly wrong because I think that he was very irresponsible. He was socially irresponsible when he put the original tweet out, because you know what type of narrative that carries. And we all know it's beyond basketball. Like, we're not even talking about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark on a basketball situation for the most part. We're talking about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark being Autobots and Decepticons type of beef. And this is what it doesn't make any sense. It's ludicrous, to be quite honest, because we should be talking about these two young women who are absolutely elevating the game of women's basketball as well as the WNBA. And it's unfortunate. But I agree mostly with what Ryan Clark said. I mean, it was like, look, man, RG3, you know what type of narrative this is walking right into, and you being a black man and you being a man that has been in sports, you've been on both sides of the rope, so to speak. You've been on the field, and you've also been on the media side, which you're currently in. So you have to be very, very careful and understand and pretty much read the damn room. Like, what are you? Your tweets are going to carry a lot more weight than what I may say. Dare I say, maybe what you may say, Jose, depending on what the nature of the subject matter is, because these people have a bigger platform, which is why we're talking about them. So I agree. I mean, and plus the disrespect that Black women have gone through over the course of time. This just continues to feed into that narrative when you have other people that run media companies that are pro, Caitlin Clark, and they decide to be, anti-Angel Reese for not just basketball reasons, but for skin color reasons. Let's be absolutely clear about that. So I, for the most part, I agree with Ryan Clark. I think RG3 is trying to paint this narrative. He's trying to stir the pot, like you said, because I think also he's trying to create controversy for himself and for his radio, for his show. That he does on, I believe, maybe a daily or every other day basis. And so he wanted to stir the pot. I've never seen RG3 at a WNBA game. I've never seen RG3 talk about the WNBA. So sometimes it's okay to learn the vocabulary of silence. It's okay to have a tall glass and shut the hell up.
but here's my thing. I understand the conversation of what RG3 said, meaning what Ryan Clark said, right? But I don't agree with when you bring in a man's family. I understand what Ryan Clark was trying to get at, if that makes sense, but I just think that he kind of crossed the line there. Do you agree with that or disagree?
Well, yeah, that's why I said I agree with most of the stuff what Ryan Clark said.
Okay.
I think family or children should be left off limits. I don't know if Ryan Clark thought he was trying to make an example and use that family example to try to illustrate his point. I don't know, because I'm obviously not in Ryan Clark's head. I don't think Ryan Clark was trying to be malicious against RG3. However, regardless of intent, what you do is what you do, and how it was executed is how it's executed. So I hope that these two gentlemen can sit down and have a conversation with one another, because I think it's definitely had, because I honestly don't like seeing two of these guys argue like this. Now, we could debate topics, but when you start getting personal, I think that needs to have a private conversation, and then ultimately maybe a public conversation after that. To try to clear the air, because both of these guys are talented in their own right. I'm not going to take anything away from either one. I enjoy watching The Pivot. The Pivot is one of my favorite shows to watch. Like I said, RG3 is one of the nicest guys that I've talked to. He gave me a great interview when I got a chance to speak with him. When it came to college football and whatnot. So again, we'll see what happens. But RG3 is definitely very irresponsible, painting this narrative that Angel hates Caitlin Clark, because that only fuels the racial fire that continues to spread throughout not just the WNBA, but throughout the sports world, which is why we are having investigations happen, because fans are taking that same energy and going at Angel Reese using alleged racial slurs, which is why the league is investigating what had transpired that past Saturday between Angel and Caitlin and their respective teams. So, you got to do better, RG3. That's all I'm gonna say. You got to do better, my man. You can't just leave that stuff out to dry and just leave it at that. You have to be more cognizant of the room that you're in and the social climate that we are currently in right now in this country.
Nick Hamilton joining us here on Sports X Radio, giving a little conversation about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, and of course Ryan Clark. I'm sorry, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, and then the whole RG3 Ryan Clark situation. But Chris, you also had some thoughts on this before the break.
Well, absolutely. So Nick and to Jose, I want to go back to kind of like this whole thing starting, and Nick brought this up, right, as far as the energy, right, and the response when it comes to the public, social media, and in the WNBA. And Nick, I just want to get your take on your thoughts on how the WNBA has kind of handled this, right? Because to me, going back to the situation, I just talked about this with Jose. This was a play that happens all the time, every single night in the NBA. It probably happens a lot also in the WNBA with players that aren't as prominent, obviously, as Caitlin and Angel. But then you have the situation transpire opening night of the WNBA, right, where this goes down. And then you have allegations, right, of fans in the stands making derogatory comments, right, dropping the N-bomb or dropping racial slurs in the stands. And then you have the WNBA coming out, and this I guess will be part of my opinion, the WNBA kind of giving credence to these without having any evidence whatsoever or any credible evidence whatsoever that they took place, and coming out and saying, yeah, the WNBA, and making the blanket statement that kind of, and it sparked obviously a lot of response on social media and prominent people in social media, whether it be, the Day Portnoys or whatever, that want to chime in and give their hot take. I get that. But is there any culpability here from the WNBA standpoint on how this was handled from a professional standpoint?
Well, I think the league has to be very careful. I think they have to dot their I's and cross their T's, because from a legal standpoint, as well as from a promotional and marketing standpoint as well. I think with the alleged blanket statement that everybody thinks, they have to tread lightly, because this is a very serious situation, just because of the energy that has surrounded these two magnetic players that are pretty much upholding their league as we speak. And so, unfortunately, I know people want more from the league. Hell, I wanted more from the league. I wanted to be like, hey, man, what's the deal? What do we have? Audio recordings? We got some microphones. We got some cell phone footage. Like, what's going on? And maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know. I just hope they conduct the investigation, because we've seen fans, even in the NBA, that have used a lot of derogatory terms, racial slurs, where NBA players have called them out. Well, have you seen LeBron James or Russell Westbrook call them out and say, no, man, these people have to go? And I wish that there was a situation, something similar to that, where if Angel heard it, or one of her teammates heard it, or even one of the Indiana Fever players heard it, they would have been able to call those fans out and say, no, they are the ones that are saying these derogatory things. They have to go. And I think it would have been a little better as far as from an ocular standpoint. But I think the media fuels this more than anything else. I think the media and media pundits have fueled this way more, because unfortunately, when we talk about Caitlin Clark, we don't have to always talk about Angel Reese. She doesn't get all the Angel Reese questions. But when Angel Reese sits down, she gets all the Caitlin Clark questions. She can't escape it, even if she wanted to. And so this is why I said there's a different dynamic in how these women are being handled. I do not believe that Angel hates Caitlin Clark at all. I've never seen any indication of that. I've covered the league for quite some time. I've watched these two, whether it's in person or whether it's via, television or the app. I've watched these players compete, and they have a very high competitive, level that they like to compete in. I mean, we've seen hard fouls. We've seen pushing us. I mean, hell, we talked about the NBA, about how Anthony Edwards, Ant-Man, was pushing and shoving LeBron like they were going up and down the field like he was a wide receiver. I mean, nobody said anything but, oh man, these guys are playing physical. So why is it when the women play physical, it's ostracized and it's a problem? I don't understand that. We can't have it both ways. You can't say equality for all, but then you ostracize when women do get physical, because basketball, as you all know, is a very physical game at times. It can get very chippy. So the thing about it is, this is part of the game. And the thing about it for me is that, these are two polarizing figures. Obviously, Caitlin Clark is probably the most polarizing figure we have, in not just in the W, but in one of the members of sports, period. But I think it's just way blown out of proportion. Like I said earlier, we're talking about a whole different dynamic, and we're not even talking about basketball. Like, we should be talking about how well or how bad these ladies hoop each and every night, not, oh, this is dynamic here and this dynamic over here. Like, this is it like, Twitter gets annoying.
It definitely does.
Yeah, social media is a beast, right? And you said you made the comment, Nick, right? Jose, you made a comment that media blows us. I think it's social media, right? Yeah, social media is really the one that's kind of spearheaded this, because you get the WNBA statement, it comes out on social media, right? I mean, it's all over. Doesn't matter if it's Instagram, TikTok, X, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all over the place, and then it gets picked up by traditional legacy media or whatever. It gets put out there. I get that, but I mean, I want to kind of pose this to Jose and Nick. I want to get your take too, because Nick, you brought it up as far as this term, this phrase that's brought up, that she hates. That Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. I would characterize it differently, and I don't think it's just specific to Angel Reese. I think there are players, if we're being 100% honest right now, if we're being straight up, there are women in the WNBA that are probably jealous of Caitlin Clark right? Because of the attention that she's gotten, given the fact that she hasn't even done anything yet. I mean, let's be straight about it. Caitlin Clark has not done anything yet in the WNBA. Yes, she was a story player in college at the University of Iowa, where she happened to lose in the in the NCAA tournament to Angel Reese and LSU. LSU has a national championship. So Caitlin Clark, I get it. There's all these projections that she could be, the next great player in the WNBA. She already is from a standpoint of marketing, right? And a standpoint of whether it's endorsements across the board, she already is a major player in the sports world, period, as Nick just pointed out. It's not just in the WNBA. It's not just in women's basketball. She's a face of women's sports and sports in America, period. But I think there are, getting back to what I was saying, I know it's long-winded, but I think it's more of a jealousy factor, really. That's the reality of some players in the WNBA. It doesn't have to be just black players. It could be white players too, and players and Latin descent and Asian descent, whatever. The point being is that I think there is that jealousy out there, and I think sometimes it gets conflated in a situation that has to be racial when it's not. It has to have something to do with other things other than basketball and on the court. And I think that's problematic. That adds to this entire situation.
I'll let you take it, Nick.
Well, I think I'm gonna push back on the jealousy. I don't think it's necessarily jealousy. I think it's just annoyance, right? Because first of all, let's be clear. Asia Wilson is the face that runs the place. This is her league. She's the best player in the league. However, Caitlin Clark is the most polarizing player, and she's an absolute flat out, baller. I'm not taking anything away from Caitlin Clark at all and what she's been able to accomplish even going into year 2. But I think also, too, I don't think it's jealousy. I think it's more just annoyance, like I said, because of the fact that, like you said, you're getting all this puff for this one individual that's quote unquote came to save the league, as some media pundits. Yeah, social media plays a part in it as well. But I also think media pundits on major networks have also continued to push that particular narrative that's not 100% accurate or even 75% accurate. So I think when you look at the overall dynamic, I think it's more of a competitive thing. Like, okay, we're going to show you. I think a lot of these ladies are more competitive. I think they have an edge. And I think it's made the sport better. It's made it a lot more competitive. That's why they're able to expand to 44 games now. They're able to have expansion. We're on the cusp of a brand new CBA that's going to bring in billions of dollars to this league that is definitely much needed. Did Caitlin Clark have a hand in that? Absolutely. Did her superstar status have a hand in that? Absolutely. Did Angel Reese have a hand in that? Absolutely. Did Asia Wilson have a hand in that? Absolutely. It was, as well as many other players, Breonna Stewart and countless others. So I think, I don't know, like I said, I'll have to push back on the jealousy aspect because I hear that way too much. But I will say this much too. There is a racial component because of the country that we live in, unfortunately. And when we talk about social media, there are a lot of Caitlin crybabies out there that will look for any opportunity to support Caitlin. Like Caitlin has said before, everybody does not support her because of her basketball wits or her basketball status. They support her because of the color of some of them, very few, support her because of the color of her skin. And they want to have an excuse to extend their racial biases through her or through the support of her, quote unquote, and to be able to disseminate those negative stereotypes about anybody not named Caitlin Clark that goes up against Caitlin Clark, primarily Angel Reese. So whether we see Angel Reese getting, tired of answering the same questions, I don't blame her. I'd have shut it down too. When that other reporter asked her about, going Caitlin Clark in year 2, what happened last year, that woman is past last year. She had her rookie year. Unfortunately, she went down 7 games before the end of the regular season due to injury. She came back. She balled out and unrivaled. She's getting better. Do I think she needs to continue to work on her game? Absolutely. I've said it on record that I think Angel Reese should spend a week with Candace Parker and a week with Tim Duncan, and to be able to expand her offensive presence, because defensively we know what she can do. She can rebound. She can continue to spread the floor. We know what she can do with that. But as far as on the offense, if you're trying to be an all-around hooper, her offense definitely needs work. And the thing with Caitlin Clark, my take on Caitlin Clark is that she's got to stop crying after every foul, even if it's warranted or not. She's got to stop. Even we saw Sophie Cunningham, a brand new addition to the Indiana Fever, tried to hold her back. Like, hey, come on, let's go over here. You shouldn't have to do that in year 2. You are a leader of this team. You and Aaliyah Boston are the leaders of this team. You have to maintain your composure, and hopefully she will learn as the season progresses and as her career progresses. She will, continue to understand, look, man, you're not going to get certain calls. You haven't achieved that status yet. You're not going to get the Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James type of calls where they just look the other way because of who you are. You're not there yet. So you got to be able to maintain your composure and keep your cool, because the other players are going to rely on you in crunch time to be able to get, to that next level, be able to finish out the game effectively and efficiently. So I think these young ladies need to have time to grow. I think people are putting too much expectations on them. I think they just need to sit back and let's enjoy the game. Damn. Can we just enjoy all the Caitlin crybabies, all the Angel Reese haters? Can we just enjoy the game for what it is? Nobody's saying that we looking for a savior. We just enjoying the WNBA. They're at the peak of their height of what we've seen. I've covered this league now for 16 years. It has never been this high as far as anticipation and marketing and delivery and people really taking an interest in the league. I'm happy. I'm happy that Caitlin Clark is here. I'm happy that Angel Reese is here. I'm happy that Paige Beckers is here, who has a very high basketball IQ. I'm happy that we're getting to see new talent come into the league. The Cameron Brinks when she returns off injury, the Rakia Jacksons. I mean, Kate Martin. We got so many, fantastic players that are in this league that are beyond Angel and Caitlin. It's like, damn, can they get some shine too? Can we appreciate them too?
Well, you brought her up. You brought up A'ja Wilson. She is the face. A'ja is the face of the league and she's got the resume, right? I mean, when I talk resume, it's A'ja Wilson right now, who's the face of the league. But when you have a player that's up and coming, players, I should say, right? Not just Caitlin Clark, there's others as well too. Then you're going to have some, contenders out there, right? Contenders. Sure. But I want to bounce this off both you and Jose, Nick, and get your guys' take. Do you think that Engelbert maybe was smiling a little bit on Friday, given that, look, it's the first night of the season, right? First night of the season, and you have this situation pop up, right? Which is, again, we just pointed out at the beginning of this segment, how it's something that happens every single night in the NBA, and it should be, a nothing thing that happens every night in the WNBA. What is there any way, shape, or form, Nick, in which Kathy was pleased that this got this kind of attention is afforded her league on the first night of the league, where it gets blown up into a scenario that's talked about, not even just about sports people, but people across the media spectrum as a whole?
In the words of the late great Eazy, all publicity is good publicity. I don't think,
oh yes, that's
they are frowning one iota.
Yeah. So we're having a great conversation here. Nick Hamilton joining us live on SportsX Radio, KSHP 107.1. And we're also live on all the YouTube, Facebook, Twitter Live, all that stuff. If you want to watch the video, I'm also going to have this interview cut and posted later on. So for all of you that want to watch this, if you missed any part of it, we'll definitely have it. Now, I love the shirt, Nick. I love it. That's amazing. NBA Jam, baby. But look,
WNBA Jam.
Here, Chris, the reason this conversation started between me and Nick, and the reason I was able to get him on the show was based off a comment that I made on social media on Twitter. You also stated how it's not necessarily the media pushing their narrative, but it's social media more than anything pushing that narrative. I want to backtrack a little bit on what I said. I know that I said that Angel Reese is becoming the new Liz Cambage of the WNBA now. I want to clear that up. I have no hate on Angel Reese. I have no hate against Caitlin Clark. I was frustrated with Caitlin Clark last year because the WNBA did not do a great job of marketing the league. It was all about Caitlin all year. And I was so frustrated with that because, like,
well, you know why that is, right?
Hold on, but because,
like, you know why?
Yeah, because
it was a rookie year.
No,
yeah, it was the first year in the
But
league.
the thing is, there were so many other women that came into that draft class last year that were amazing. Also, the previous women that are already there, A'ja, everyone else that has already put their footprint on this league. Now, what I meant to say kind of is that when I look at Angel Reese, I think she's a good basketball player, not great. Can she be better? Yes, she's only going to get better, right? She's going to be a better player as she moves on in her career. She's only been here 2 years. But we cannot compare Caitlin and Angel. They're two different players.
Well, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but Jose, the reason why people are probably going to give you flack for making that comparison, Nick, hear me out here, and I want your take. It's because you're just bringing up the negative aspects of Liz Cambage, right? And how she kind of was portrayed in the media. Nick, am I wrong on that? Is that why people?
I think a lot of it. I think because I even raised my eyebrow. And
when you're comparing to Luis Cambage,
He was one of the first.
you're not doing it because you're doing it for a positive reason, right, Nick? He's not doing it because Luis Cambage is a great player.
Damn, they come now. I can't let nobody come at my boy Jose, right? So we in a social media bar fight. Like we back to back got to squab out of the building, and we got to be on the Kendrick squabble up. I mean, it's like, and I had to block people, man, because then they start coming, they tagging me into stuff. I'm like, I don't care, man. Leave that man alone.
Yeah.
But
you know, Nick, you know what direction I'm going here, right?
I did the rock. I had the rock eyebrow. I was like, wait, did he just say what I think he's? You know, it was like, that you remember ATL with Big Boy. I know that's not who I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
But look, basically what I was trying to get at is that when I see comparisons of it, right? And what I mean by that, she can be so much better as a basketball player if she stops focusing on everything else. If you look at it, it's all about style, her podcast, me, as where other players in the league, not Caitlin, other players in the league, when they have their conferences or their interviews and all that, it's more team oriented. Is what can I do on the court to get better? This, and that. With all due respect, I don't see that from Angel just yet. I see too much of the spotlight, and she cares more about that, Nick. That's kind of what I was trying to get to when I made that comment.
Jose, you a very smart man. You and I have talked away from the radio station. We've hung out.
Yeah.
Okay? This is my guy. And I love him like a play cousin. But here's what I'm going to tell you where you're wrong.
Tell me, please.
One, a lot of players don't have Angel Reese's cachet. She's able to sell. She's marketing, which ultimately helps the league. Yeah, it may be for her, but when she's going to the Met Gala, when she's going overseas to fashion shows, when she's doing the Reese's Pieces and the peanut butter cup cereal and all this other stuff, all that promotion, yeah, it's for her, but it's a trickle-down effect on the league. Guess who else does that, Jose? Cameron Brink. We've seen Cameron Brink in the SI swimsuit issue. Yeah. They ain't got nothing to do with her team. But guess what? When Cameron Brink comes back, we've seen Cameron Brink be on the runway. We've seen her at fashion shows. We've seen her here. We've seen her at this movie premiere over there. We've seen her everywhere because she has that type of that marketing cachet where she's tall, she's blonde, she's tall, she's pretty. You know, she's in LA. That does help as well. You're in the second largest market. Angel's in the third largest market in Chicago. You know, she's a beautiful sister. She's doing what she's got to do. She knows how to market. She has her, like you said, her podcast. And so does Cameron. So does Cameron Brink, by the way, Jose. In case you haven't checked it out, it's pretty damn good.
I knew of it. Haven't checked it out though. I got you.
Yeah, it's pretty good. She does have a podcast too. But what I'm saying is, both of these players are out there. Yes, they are building their brands. And they are building their brands in a way where they have to build their brands because the league has to catch up. And they're also helping the league at the same time. And a lot of people don't want to talk about that. Now, is Caitlin the more polarizing player, as I mentioned earlier? Yes. Is Angel the best marketed player? Yes. Gotcha. That's where the two differ. Because Caitlin has been invited to the Met Gala a couple of times, and she has not shown up. Angel gets invited. She looks absolutely incredible. She fits, the criteria. So you can't hate her or be mad at her or, point the finger at her for that because she's doing exactly what she's supposed to do. Nobody has a problem when NBA players do it, and the NBA is self-sustaining. So my thing is, because these are women, and yes, the league is still growing. It's only 27 years in existence. It's still relatively young, and look what they've been able to accomplish in the last 5 years, even going through a global pandemic. Look at what they've been able to accomplish in the last 5 years, and look at what look what's to come as we talk about the CBA. We talk about getting other players like Juju Watkins coming in a couple of years, and so many other players that are coming in a year or two. So the league is going to continue to grow. We talk about expansion. Now, my only problem is I wish they would expand the rosters. That's the next thing Kathy needs to work on is expansion of the rosters because they have to be able to. You should at least have 14 players on a squad, at least.
There it is, man. I got put in my place. I get it, but sometimes you got to get put in your place. I'm joking. I'm joking. Yeah. No. Come on, Nick. I'm just messing around with you, man. But look, sometimes it takes a tweet or it takes a post to start a conversation and to continue that conversation, right? But we also, I get it, we got to get away from certain narratives and things of that nature. But Nick, we're running against the clock here. We got to hit a break. I greatly appreciate you and my time and your time. This definitely will not be the last time. You know that. We got to chop it up on my podcast soon and keep some more conversations going just to help grow the league and just everything else in general and get away from these bad narratives. But before we let you go, please let everyone know where they can find you on all things social media and all the work you're doing.
Well, thank you to you and Chris for having me on. I really appreciate it. Yeah, you can catch me on Instagram at the NH Experience. Please follow me because brother needs some followers like real bad because it's my, my other page got hacked, unfortunately. You can also find me at YouTube at Nitecast Media TV. You can also follow me on Twitter at Nick Hamilton 213. Thank y'all so much, man. Really appreciate it. And hey, man, the Aces are coming home.
Hey,
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
By
Great
31,
stuff.
baby. We'll see what
Nick,
happens.
open up a can of whoop ass right now up there in Connecticut. It's pretty ugly.
Vengeance. Nick Hamilton, the one and only, my man. Greatly appreciate you. You have yourself a great night and a great rest of your week, brother. We'll talk soon.
Take care.
Do the same.
There we go, man. That was a good one. I wanted to get into that because I know it's been a topic of conversation
We
all
could
over
literally
sports.
do 2 hours
without
of the show
easily.
and had conversation because I had more takes too when it came to the whole RG3. I think RG3. I know it's after he's off the air, but
Yeah.
I would probably have a little more of RG3's back when it came to that entire situation. But we didn't get a chance to really get into it too much. But that's fine. But
All right. Once again, Jose V, Christian Winn. I think Chris is going to dip out on me because he's got to go take care of some other responsibilities that he has. But Chris, greatly appreciate you, my man. As always, like we say, the dynamic duo here on Sports Radio. Let them know where they can find you before we get out of here with you.
always a good time, Jose, with SportsX Radio here. Find me at Christian Winn on X/Twitter. Also find me over on Instagram and beyond at CWin77 and all over the airwaves here in the great city of Las Vegas.
Chris Winn, greatly appreciate you. SportsX Radio coming to you live from Las Vegas, PSR Law Studios, and of course, KSHP Radio 107.1 on your FM dial and sportsxradio.com worldwide. We're going to take our final break of the night here. Coming up after the break, our guy, Dwayne Colucci, racing sportsbook manager over at the Rampart Casino. Belmont Stakes coming up. And of course, what are all the bettors taking, Chris, in basketball and in the NHL? We'll be right back.
Snyder's, the Nevada South Hub, invites you to play the best tavern, keno, and video poker in Vegas. Promos are how we roll to make the most of your gaming dollars here with us. Come play in our ongoing gaming promotions and receive daily free play, bonuses, and more. With a chance to win Knights, Raiders, and Aviator tickets and big money with all those jackpots. It's not only the great gaming that Snyder's Pub has, it's the 24 awesome rotating draft beers and best appetizers to match. So join us in watching your baseball Aviators and all your home sports teams as we make history in Vegas. Snyder's, the Nevada South Hub at 8410 West Cheyenne, 1750 North Buffalo, and Las Vegas Boulevard and Windmill. Snyder's, I love this place.
Hey, bartender, what'd you learn in school? Red snapper, kamikaze, long island iced tea, black Russian pussy nigga, and the sex on the beach. Margarita, Bloody Mary, so cheers. Learn to make them all on the rocks with a twist. There's a school to attend, and I recommend you call 1-800 510.
Hi, Smiler. Terrified of any food tougher than tofu? Do you wish there was some sort of reverse tooth fairy who puts teeth back into your mouth? If so, then AQ Denture and Dental Implants Anderson might be able to help. AQ is an in-network provider for Medicare dental plans and one of the most technically advanced dental offices in the Valley. Dr. Maricondia is an internationally recognized expert in implant dentistry, and AQ's on-site lab means your custom implants, dentures, bridges, crowns, and more are ready faster and fit better. Call AQ Dental for a free consultation at 702-565-6000 or visit aqdentureservice.com. That's 702-565-6000. Dr. Maricondia may not be the reverse tooth fairy, but he can help restore your smile to its former glory. New smile, new you. Just call AQ. Think all guitars are pretty much the same? They're not. The guitars from Wild Audio are better, bolder, stunningly beautiful, and offer a playability unmatched by even the legacy guitar. Wild Audio guitars, tailor-made for Black Label Society frontman and Pantera reunion guitarist Zakk Wylde. Guitars from Wild Audio come in the most amazing shapes and finishes. Then when you plug them in, wow, the sound, the fret reach, the playability. See why Slash, Kirk Hammett, Brad Paisley, and more are wild about their Wild Audio guitars. And they've got basses, acoustic guitars, accessories, and left-handed instruments too. Wild Audio guitars for craftsmanship, durability, versatility, and oh my God, the sound. Visit wild-audio.com. That's WYLDE-audio.com. And go wild. Forklift University. Learn to drive a forklift now. Forklift University, centrally located near Sahara and the I-50, with one-day classes and small class sizes, which means lots of drive time. Forklift University. This is the only forklift certification training you'll need. Mention this ad and receive 10% off enrollment. Forklift University. Learn to drive a forklift at forkliftuniversity.com.
Looking for your next adventure on the road? Findlay Toyota has you covered. With an unbeatable selection of brand new Toyotas, you'll find the perfect ride to fit your lifestyle and your budget. Whether it's the rugged Tacoma, the adventurous RAV4, or the powerful Tundra, at Findlay Toyota, we make financing easy and stress-free, no matter your credit situation. Findlay Toyota, driven to excellence. At the Valley Auto Mall in Henderson or online at findlaytoyota.com.
Machiavellianism, Illuminati, all through your body, flows like a 12-gauge shot. Feel me? And God said He said, it's one big God to lead the wild into the ways of the man. Follow me. Flesh of my flesh, come with me.
Man, it looks like the Aces said their Hail Marys today. Coming out and putting out a statement against the Connecticut Sun, up 81-48, 9-11 to go in the fourth quarter. Absolutely insane. I'm over here asking Nunchuck, did the Aces just came out and said, forget you guys, we got to make a statement? Or is Connecticut just going to be that bad? Jose V coming to you live. Almost done here, SportsX Radio. About to finish it up in a couple minutes, but we got a great guest coming up shortly. Just want to let you guys know a couple scores here. In the world of sports, obviously, English Premier League for you soccer fans. Crystal Palace took out the Wolves 4-2 at home. Man City 3-1 winner over Bournemouth. Right now in the NHL, 8:52 left in the first period. Panthers up 1-0 with a goal by Verhaeghe. In the MLB, Cubs are just smashing the Marlins 9-1 in the bottom of the seventh. Pirates up 1-0 against the Reds, bottom of the seventh there. Nationals, Braves. Nationals up 4-3, bottom of the seventh as well. Red Sox up 2-0 against the Mets. Blue Jays 3-0 over the Padres. Brewers losing to the Braves. Orioles losing to the Braves 1-0 on the road. And the Tigers. Chris Wynn's Tigers. I'm sorry, Evan. I know you're upset because your Cardinals are getting beat. 4-0 Tigers right now, bottom of the fourth inning. But without further ado, let's go ahead and bring out our final guest of the evening here. Not a stranger to SportsX or Sports. We've had him on the podcast, on the show numerous times. Good friend of mine and my former colleague at the Sportsbooks. Our guy, Dwayne Colucci, racing sportsbook manager over at Rampart. My brother, it's been a while. How are you? How are things with the family as well? Hopefully you're doing good.
Doing great, Jose. Thanks for asking. Really miss you. Haven't seen you in a bit. And we'll be definitely touching bases soon, but everything's doing well. Hopefully everything's going well with your family as well. God bless, as always. You know how we do it, Jose, Dwayne. Wow. How long do we know each other? Jeez. From back in the Eastside Cannery days.
Yeah, so that was 2010. So about 15. No, you're right. In 2009, 10. So about 15, 16 years now, man. It's been a while.
Unbelievable. Yes.
I miss those days. I'm not going to lie to you because working in the book and being able to have the conversations that we have on the radio, but having them in the book was so much different. Having the lines in front of us, seeing how the odds makers do things and how everything moves. It's just amazing. So much that not only you do, but everyone that works with you in the book has to do to get everything that us bettors want to get to bet, right? So it's great to have you on the show. We have a lot coming up. Obviously, some of the things have already started here. We got the NBA with the Western Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals as well, and the NHL. But not only that, you're a big horse guy. That's your bread and butter, my man. I know that you love betting the ponies, and we have the Belmont Stakes coming up. Obviously, this year we will not have a Triple Crown winner because the Sovereignty did not decide to run in the Preakness. But then we have journalism, right? The Preakness winner that is going to run in this next race from everything that I'm reading. So it could be a battle between both of these horses. What are you looking at when it comes to this coming up here in a week or so with the Belmont? Do you see anyone in your eyes that you're possibly looking to take? Or what has the conversation been like in the book?
Well, Jose, a lot of excitement after journalism's impressive performance in the Preakness. So now you have the 3-week lead period. So a little more time for journalism to get back, into shape. Sovereignty has been at Saratoga. Let's remember the Belmont Stakes is at Saratoga this year. And it's also a quarter of a mile shorter as opposed to the 1.5 mile distance at Big Sandy Belmont Park. So you're doing 1.25 miles as opposed to 1.5 miles. So it's a little easier as well on journalism, but Sovereignty is going to be ready. You're going to have Baeza there as well, who was, he was making up tremendous ground for 3rd place in the Kentucky Derby. You have another emerging superstar possibly going in Crudo, who won earlier on the Preakness card on Saturday. So this is really going to be a great race, Jose, if everything materializes and everybody stays healthy. You're going to have a festival of racing, basically. Saratoga is going to hold 4 days of racing, and you're going to see the greatest talent in the world. You're going to see the best jockeys from Flavian Pratt, Irad Ortiz, the greatest trainers, Bill Mott, the trainer of Sovereignty, Todd Pletcher. They're all going to be there. Hopefully Baffert will have Rodriguez ready for the Belmont. That's just another face and another threat. So this is all coming together as a great superstar-studded Belmont Stakes at Saratoga. And it's so much fun because Toga's the best, man. Jose, I wish I could really take you back there. Saratoga is incredible in the fact that it's somewhat opposite of Del Mar in that it's just totally consummate racing. There isn't the party atmosphere, the glory, the gorgeous women. It's more hardcore horse racing and trainers and all the horsemen that really take up the limelight there. And you have your superstars there too, because, Bobby Flay owns horses, Jason Wirt. There's so many celebrities getting involved now, which is good for, the game of horse racing that for a couple of years was dying, Jose. And it still is somewhat of a dying industry, but the state has shown positives now. They've shown, a growth in interest and a growth in handle for the Kentucky Derby as well as the Preakness. So that's a good sign. My property was off the hook. It was incredible for the Preakness. Our handle was just exceptional. And we cater to the horse racing customers. You know that, Jose. Oh, yeah. But we got the South Point backbone for the sports too. So it's just a monstrous affiliation.
Dwayne, you mentioned Rodriguez, the Wood Memorial winner. He's trained by Bob Baffert. A lot of people say that he could possibly be a factor in this. Obviously, whenever you have a horse that's trained by the prince of horse racing or whatever they call Bob Baffert nowadays, he always has a chance, right? But there's always now that controversy possible. If we were to see Rodriguez win in this race, do you think any of that conversation comes up about Bob Baffert?
Well, he ran in the Preakness and the horse didn't run so well. That was one of the trouble factors there. He was guided by Flavian Pratt, and he was the one who was pinning journalism into the rail. So, there's talk about Flavian Pratt getting a suspension because of that ride, but Baffert getting back to the horse has already lost. So, I think if he gets Rodriguez in peak shape, he's done some majestic things at Saratoga. I mean, I remember when Arrogant won at Saratoga to Travers. That was just a monstrous victory. And he's so, he's scrutinized, but he's so good for horse racing, in my opinion, because he brings that light onto the sport. He's the celebrity trainer and power figure, and especially with the 3-year-olds and the Triple Crown races, Jose. So, I know Bob is always scrutinized. I know how the NYRA does their testing of horses. So if he wins, I mean, the horse is going to be tested up and down, scoped constantly. The NYRA has the strictest of policies, and that's why, Churchill Churchill Downs had a scramble there, Jose. Remember, if they thought he was doing something illegal, it was happening under their watchful eye. Whereas the MYRA never really, they just sided with Churchill. He never really failed any drug tests at the MYRA or anything. And, you know, he's had superstar horses. We know he's great for the game when he's peaking. And, you know, a lot of people look at it that it might put a dark light on it, but I don't. I mean, the guy's one of the best trainers ever.
So obviously, Dwayne did mention, for those of you that want to know why, the Belmont Stakes will be held at Saratoga Racecourse this year for the second consecutive year due to ongoing renovations at Belmont Park. So eventually they'll definitely get back there for sure. Now, I know it's too soon for some of these lines to be outright or the betting favorites and things of that nature and the odds, but who are you looking at when it comes top three once the odds and the actual numbers come out? How do you think it'll all come out when the odds are ready?
I'll tell you the truth, Jose, this journalism might actually be the favorite going into the race. It's going to be real close. I mean, you know, he was the Kentucky Derby favorite. Sovereignty was right there in the betting. But now, you know, with this impressive performance, overcoming that trip and everything, and the popularity of the horse, he may be a slight favorite. He'll probably be the betting favorite, you know, when all is said and done and they spring the horses. But I would say that definitely I would look at probably making Sovereignty about 5-2, and maybe journalism in the 2-1 range. Baez is going to take a ton of money. There's tremendous buzz now with this horse, so I couldn't see him too far back. 4-5-1. If we could get 5-1 on Baez, that would be incredible. Plus, you know, like you said, if Rodriguez throws his hat in the ring, it's going to be tough because he's got a lot of speed and could control the tempo. Remember, journalism, Sovereignty, Baez, they like to come from behind. So when you have a speed favoring horse like this Rodriguez, and maybe that's why Todd Pletcher will throw this Crudo horse in, who has a tremendous turn of foot as well. So it's going to be very interesting, but I believe that journalism and Sovereignty will be, you know, substantial favorites. Then you'll look at Baeza as the third choice in this Belmont Stakes at Saratoga.
So, Dwayne, when you and I used to work at Eastside Canada, I remember we were the hub. So I remember when we had the sports lines and all that, we would control what would come out, how we would adjust the lines of things of that nature. When it comes to horse racing, though, how soon will you guys have your odds out? And do you make your own odds, or is this just coming directly from the track?
Well, you know, that's great that you asked that. We're fully hooked up to the pari-mutuel wagering. So we do offer, though, Chris Andrews, I'm talking at the South Point, and myself, we did formulate matchups for the Kentucky Derby, and we may have a couple of matchups for the Belmont Stakes, and those will be fixed odds. What you see on the board at the Rampart and South Point will be the odds for those. Pari-mutuel wagering is totally different. When you're betting on the horses at the Rampart and the South Point, you go directly into the pool at Saratoga, and everybody's money, you know, coming from all over the country. And there's been a lot of scrutiny about that. That's a whole nother conversation, Jose, that I know you've been following, that these odds change as the horses are running. Yep. And, you know, it's definitely, that's the uneasy feel of trying to promote the horse racing game to the younger consumer, because the odds sometimes aren't fixed until after the race when you're dealing with pari-mutuel wagering. And, you know, I was on the race day show, Las Vegas last week, gave out a winner. Jose, I swear to God, I didn't even listen to the show the next day. My friend called me and he was like, they're talking about you playing. The horse went in the gate at 11-1, Jose. He finished up and only paid 9-2.
No way.
You know, that's the bad feel when you're dealing with the pari-mutuel wagering and the CAWs and all these different outlets that are taking bets. Even it seems like when the horse, you hope that it's not happening while the race is being run, but it does seem like that to the average consumer, and that's what's hurting the horse racing game. So pari-mutuel wagering, when you bet at the Rampart and South Point, goes right into the pool. You get the exact payoff that the track is giving you. Whereas, you know, the matchups will put up very similar to a UFC or a boxing match. Those are the fixed odds, and it'll appear on your ticket. If you have a plus 150, plus 160, that's what you get. It's locked in. You will notice when you bet on horse racing at the casinos, there are no odds listed on the horses, on the tickets, I should say, next to the horse, as opposed to baseball, football, NHL, and all that, where the odds are right on the ticket.
Dwayne Colucci, Rampart Racing Sportsbook Manager, joining us here on Sports X Radio, talking about the Belmont Stakes. And that is one thing that I've always tried to talk to people about that don't understand. It's like, why do I bet sports and I get this odds, and if it changed, I still keep my odds? But not with the horses. It's a completely different game there. But I'm not going to ask you now, but I'll ask you closer when we get to the Belmont Stakes, because I definitely want to know where your money's going and what you're looking to bet. But I wanted to move into some NBA and some NHL. I want to talk a little bit about your handle and how that has been. Are you getting a lot of serious money, or are you getting more individual size and totals type of thing per game coming into game one on the NHL and the NBA side?
Yeah, we have an incredible flow, Jose. You know, we take some nice sizable bets, and we had a lot of guys pounding us in that last game. The Thunder on the money line, we had a nice, really nice price, you know, in the 370 range, and a couple of the sharps came down and they opened us up. So, you know, it's been mostly a game-by-game flow. Series money, you know, your price is pretty much locked in for a couple of weeks now when you get to the NBA and NHL Conference finals. So you do have the consumers that are coming in. They're betting game by game. Tonight, we got hit with a little Carolina Hurricane money. We see Verhage got that early goal, and you know, it's so tough to bet against the Florida Panthers, in my opinion. But there was some money coming in there, but some good two-way money on the NBA game. It's incredible how, you know, the game just stayed at 7 the whole way. I'm still looking at the money right now, and it's at you know, open 7, close 7. You know, we did see a little flash of over money. Naturally, these are two high-powered offenses, so we got crushed with a little over money. You know, we did open that very low, Jose, at 213.5, and I think we closed it at 219. So, you know, everybody's parlays have the over tonight in this NBA game, and the side was good two-way action, but we got plied with over money there. The series, you know, they've been consistent. We have Florida as the favorite, and we took a little Florida action. Liability, we do have a little on the Florida Panthers if they win the Stanley Cup, and naturally the Edmonton Oilers, you know that they're a very popular team when it comes to future betting in the market. But the odds are set pretty low on these teams because they're the favorites going in. You know, outside of the Vegas Golden Knights, you know, those are two teams that definitely are synonymous with favoritism. Now, the NBA, you know, OKC, they did some damage to us this year. I mean, how many games did they win? I talk about it all the time, Jose. They have, like, now you're counting a playoff, 60 plus 10-point victories by 10 points or more. So, you know, even if you're laying double digits, this is a covering machine in OKC, and they've been monstrous this whole year. A thorn in our side, definitely liability there, but we sucked it all up with Golden State and the Lakers. You know how the people just funnel in to bet.
Crowd favorite, casual bet.
It's one way. We love it, Jose, and we were able to take that down. You know, I wanted the Lakers to go a little further. I wanted to see what Luka and LeBron could do. It just seems like they need a little more time to get acclimated. They have to make some bench maneuvers. You know, it was terrible to see Steph go down. You knew that was the end of Golden State, and it definitely may play into this series because now maybe Minnesota has some legs left because you didn't have to Anthony Edwards didn't have to chase Curry around the court, who could definitely tie you down and exploit you and expose you, but that wasn't the case. And now, you know, OKC is still the team to beat.
So, Dwayne, we got about 3 more minutes here before we got to get going, but I wanted to bring up one more topic with you real quick when it comes to the betting. When I started betting, when I was in the book, it was all about sides and totals. The market and the menu has changed so much. I don't remember the last time I bet a side or a total. I love watching the games. I love watching live in wagers. But not only that, the player props. That's where I've been making a lot of my money the last couple of weeks here with the playoffs. What has your handle been like on player props compared to sides and totals?
Yeah, they really come into effect in the playoffs because that's when we start to expand our menu, Jose. So definitely you start to get the consumers betting on that. You also get the totals in baseball. The team totals are very popular. Individual team totals. You know, definitely that's been a focal point. Like you said, player props. I've been stressing to all my patrons. They're like, oh, who do you like? Knicks, Pacers. So I'm a Knick guy. I'm kind of, you know, biased with that. But I said, look for these player props. Look for Towns. Look at the stats he had this year against Indiana. When he gets going, he could exploit them, and those are the stats that you look for. You look for over on Karl Anthony Towns' props because it seems to be a favorable matchup for him, and that goes throughout the course of the season. You know, you look at it, you had Juan Soto props, you have Aaron Judge props with that big Subway series over the weekend. You had also on the other end the Freeway series, and you have some player props. So player props become more important at the Rampart and South Point. We expand our menu as the playoffs playoffs go on. And always, you know how it is during the NFL season and Super Bowl and all those different, MVP props. You have Cy Young Award winning props, everything. It comes full circle at the start of major sporting seasons and then in the playoffs. That's predominantly where we get some massive handle there. But like you said, first 5 innings, there's so many different things to bet on now. First period goal scoring, first half totals, and definitely, Anthony Edwards and, Shea are going to be very focal when you're looking at a market of player props in these NBA Western Conference Finals, just like Jalen and, definitely Halliburton will be the focal point on the East side. And, we're going to anticipate some great handle. And the more you can put up, the more you can please the consumer. That's how you have to look at it.
My guy, great stuff as always, Dwayne. Greatly appreciate you for coming on for a little bit time here. Let everyone know, aside from the Rampart, where they can find you so they can go check you out, my man.
Yeah, definitely. I'm all over social media, Jose, and I know you retweet a lot of my stuff at NYBookieDwayne on the X. That's really where, most of us are handicappers and the bookmakers. We like to field our opinions and put stuff out there. I'm also available on Instagram, on Facebook, so many different things. We have Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio Network, which is becoming very popular. I'm on every Monday and on the Race Day Las Vegas show every Wednesday, giving out winners, Jose. The last 2 weeks in a row, we popped them pretty good. And we had a very, very great seminar at the Rampart Casino for the Kentucky Derby. Myself, Bob Ike, Jay Privman. It was great. We gave out the trifecta. If you combined it all, we gave out the superfecta. So watch for me on X. And my podcast is going to be popping up again very shortly. We've had a lot going on with that. You know how those things are, Jose, when you're dealing with the red tape and all that. But look for the FM Reverse podcast very soon, and that'll be all over X where you could stream it.
Dwayne Colucci, Rampart Racing Sportsbook Manager, joining us. Thank you so much for your time, my man. Go check him out at Rampart. He's always very gracious, and he will give you some time. Say hi to Pops for me. I miss him a lot. We'll talk soon, my man.
Definitely, Jose. And you don't be a stranger either. Come by to Rampart. Like you said, we're very liberal with the drink tickets. Come by, just say hi. I'll buy you a cocktail. You know that.
Let's go. Appreciate you, Dwayne. We'll talk soon, my brother. All right, man. We are coming to the end here now. We got to go ahead and close it out. I want to say big thank you to our guests, Dwayne Colucci, Nick Hamilton. My co-host for the evening was Chris Winn. Greatly appreciate him. Of course, Ken Thompson, man. Just let him jump in here, jump on the mic, fill in for him. I greatly appreciate him. Final scores, Panthers up 2-1 at the end of the first. T-Wolves up 16-11, 6 minutes ago in the first. And the Aces, absolute domination, 85-62. 2 minutes ago there in the fourth quarter. Safe to say they're going to cover that 14.5-point spread. But you have been tuned in to SportsX Radio live on sportsxradio.com, 107.1 FM KSHP Radio. And remember, if you missed any part of it, go on sportsxradio.com. You can catch everything archived there. Our guy KT will be back tomorrow, not only on this show, but he'll also be filling in for TC. You guys want to follow me, Jose V, Straight Bet Sports, on all things social media. Greatly appreciate you. Frank, I love you. I miss you, bro. I'll never forget. Take care, guys. Peace.
Steiner's, the Nevada Style Pub, invites you to play the best tavern, casino, and video poker in Vegas. Promos are how we roll, so make the most of your gaming dollars.